Good morning, it's Friday, and I have a read aloud that kind of goes along with our inventor study this week. I hope you've enjoyed Young Frank and some other great books as you're home. I know this rain has been hard, you haven't been able to get out of the house, so it looks like the sun's coming out. So that's a happy thing for our Friday. So I enjoyed this book. I read it before. I'm going to read it to you. It's called I Am Amelia Earhart. So it's a true story about this special lady who was very brave, but it starts with her childhood and how she led up to doing something really fantastic. And I bet you can predict by looking at what she's wearing, what she's going to do in her life and in this book. I won't give it away. It's written by Brad Meltzer, so he's the author, and the illustrator is Christopher Eliopoulos. I am Amelia Earhart. So she's like gazing out her window, looking at that airplane in the sky. I am Amelia Earhart. When I was little, people told me that girls should wear dresses and play with dolls. They said we shouldn't have unladylike adventures. I didn't agree. So our parents are showing her all the things that they think that she should have. And look at her face. Grandma's not going to like this. In fact, when I was 7 years old, my sister and I decided to build our own roller coaster in our backyard. We placed 2 planks of wood up against the side of our tool shed. The cab was a wooden packing box with roller skate wheels attached to the bottom. We greased the wood with lard so we'd move super fast. So if you don't know what lard is, it's like your mom's Crisco or butter, something you might cook with. So she takes it out, and I know you're probably thinking what she's going to do. Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea? That's her brother. This isn't a good idea. It's the best idea. Of course, I got to ride first. This was my moment. Here we go in 3, 2. I still remember the wind in my face. My stomach seemed to sink. I was flying. There she goes. She started at the top. She went airborne. And here comes her. I think that's her grandma. Amelia Earhart, take it apart this instant. The crash was loud and noisy and messy. It certainly wasn't ladylike, but it was awesome. That was awesome. It wasn't the last time I would fly. As I got older, I went to many air shows. When I was 23 years old, but still a kid at heart, my dad took me to meet Frank Hawks, a man who would eventually set many of his own flight records. You ready? I'm ready. For $10, Hanks agreed to take me on my very first flight. For 10 minutes, we flew through the sky and out over the Pacific Ocean. By the time I was 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew one thing. I had to fly. They're upside down. To save for my flying lessons, I worked as a truck driver, which wasn't ladylike either. Move it, Mac. A stenographer, which is a fancy schmancy word for someone who writes down what people say. And even a photographer. She says, say snook. 6 months after I learned to fly, I bought a bright yellow used biplane that I called Canary. Canary is a cool name for a plane, right? This is my instructor, a woman named Netta Snook. That's her real name. But here's my secret. I wasn't a natural. I wasn't the best pilot. I just worked harder than anyone else. What a lesson. Like, we might not be the best at something, but if we're the hardest worker, we're going to go really far. That's enough flying for today. No, I can do better. One more flight. So I'm thinking of words to describe Amelia Earhart. I would say determined, brave. She shows perseverance, like we always praise you guys for doing as you're working. Most important, like that day on the roller coaster, I dared to do what so many said couldn't be done. A girl flying across the Atlantic? Amelia, you sure this is a good idea? This isn't a good idea. It's the best idea. I became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. That's the one closest to us. And then the first woman to fly by myself across the Atlantic. But then people took boats to get to Europe, sailing for weeks. Back then, I made a mistake. I'm going back and rereading. Back then, people took boats to get to Europe, sailing for weeks. Planes were still a new thing. In fact, on the day I took off, one magazine ran an article that said women would never be able to fly that far. But I did. To look, that boat's going to take forever going across that ocean, but look at Amelia. That is awesome. To do it, I had to fly for 14 hours and 56 minutes with no rest, no break. Sometimes the sun was so blinding I could barely see where I was going. In the process, I also broke the record for crossing the ocean in the shortest time, doing it faster than any man or woman ever. In October 1922, I broke the women's altitude record by rising to 14,000 feet. And in July 1930, I set a speed record of over 181 miles per hour. Then I broke an altitude record, which is just a fancy-smancy way of saying I went higher than anyone else. How high did I go? About 12 Empire State Buildings straight up at a time when no woman had ever gone that high. She is something else. I am learning all kinds of new things about Amelia Earhart. In my life, I took many flights. Every single time, there was someone who said that I wouldn't be able to do it. She's going to prove them wrong. Never let anyone stop you. Whatever you dream, whatever your dream is, chase it. Work hard for it. You will find it. It is the best lesson I can give you. I'm Amelia Earhart. I know no bounds, and I hope you'll remember that the greatest flight you'll ever take is the one no one has tried before. And this is a quote by her. Never interrupt someone doing what you said couldn't be done. There's a real picture of her too. If you can see it good. And there's some more real pictures of her, like when she's younger, as she gets older in her real plane. And this is Frank Hawks that took her on her first flight. And that's her flight instructor. The end. Miss Orlando and I believe in you so much, and whatever you set your mind to do, we are right behind you forevermore. Today's Friday, so you get to pick from one of these comprehension passages. And if you want to do a couple of them, that'd be even better. And at the top, you see the pattern of the words. There's going to be several in there that have that same pattern. You can highlight them. You can ask your parents to help you read this, but I know you can do it. And remember to always use your meaning, what makes sense as you read. Look all the way through the word. Get your mouth ready when you get to a word you don't know. All those things we work so hard on. You can't forget them as you read, because you can do anything you set your mind to. And then there's questions at the bottom. This is just good practice reading. These are on a good level for you as you prepare for being a second grader. And if you would take a picture and show me, I would love that. And I kind of need that from you, that you take pictures of what you do, at least sample, because I need to fill out a sheet that tells how amazing you're doing right now, and I can't be with you. So if you could do that to help me, I can just put all the pluses down like I want to put for you. So pictures of any work you're doing, any stories you're writing, please send them my way. I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and until next time, take care.